Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this.
Rocky is participating.
Yeah, Rocky's here. All right.
Alrighty.
All right. Hey, Philly, how you going?
I'm good. How are you, Jace?
Another emotional uncover today.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be talking about anxiety today and what it's about and why it's here and why we have it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I've learned, most people would come to see me with anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this little hum that's going on. It's a fear of the future. It's a worry about what's happening. So it's anxiety and fear are very, very similar in the way that they have this very similar sort of chemicals. That they're a little bit different in the way that we work in the academy. So I look at anxiety as basically your wisdom detector.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hidden wisdom. Anxiety. So basically what anxiety is trying to do for you is it's trying to show you where your magic is. It's trying to show you what's really going on under the covers. So there's a chakra system that I focus on. It's a 13-based chakra system in the academy. I don't actually have that shared at the moment, but I talk about it a lot with the 3 hearts.
Mm-hmm.
So this is your solar plexus. So your solar plexus is where we get our anxiety. We get that feeling in that upper gut.
Yeah.
Something's up. So if I tell you something and it's a lie, your gut goes, hang on, something's up, and we never trust it, do we?
No. We usually think, I'm just imagining that.
Yeah, we're just imagining it. And the number of times you haven't trusted your gut and then it's gone, oh my God, reality is set in. And you were right, but you didn't actually. You just listened to what someone was saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, as an example, this morning I knew you were anxious about all the stuff that you had to do, and there was no real structure,
Yeah.
right, for what we were setting up because you've only just joined us in a short period of time. And I came in the morning and actually started doing the very thing that you needed.
Yeah. We did a meeting and we wrote everything down we had to do, and that just helped so much. Because I just got it all out of the head and it was like all just spinning. Yeah.
That's right. So I knew what was happening before it happened. And I knew that if I didn't do what I did today, the next week would have started creating a little bit more anxiety in you.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit more and a little bit more. Right? And I knew that I needed to make sure that wasn't going to happen. Because you've only just started, where you get the honeymoon period.
Yeah.
It's like, everything's great, I love working for you, and all this is great, and I knew this was going to start creating problems in our dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
So I changed it before it was going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because my anxiety detector was up. My gut was like, hang on, something's up with Felia at the moment. She's not feeling comfortable. This is why I'm throwing her so many balls, but she's not able to catch them all now.
Yeah.
And what we wrote on the board was so many things.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so what this means is our body is designed to use our anxiety point as a trust detector.
Mm-hmm.
So its ultimate weapon is to learn to teach us to trust ourselves and trust our instincts, which we've forgotten to do. What we've forgotten to do is because school has been teaching us logic.
Mm-hmm.
It's erased our instinctual nature where we trust our innate ability to know exactly what to do and how to do it. So I'll give you a really interesting example around this. I was on a bicycle trip down the west coast of America with my partner at the time, and there was a door opening and shutting. above where our bikes were. And we were swimming naked in a stream. And my anxiety point said, we need to do something. We need to go up, right? And there was a guy who looked like a crazy man. And my partner, she knew exactly what I needed her to do because we'd been together for such a long period of time. She started packing up the stuff and I went straight up to the guy, and it was either going to be me or him or us. His whole van was empty and we were going to be it. And basically my anxiety point was like, I am going to have to fight for my life in this point. Mm-hmm. And I've done this many, many times, many situations. And so I went straight up to him and said, hey, how you going? And to cut it short, I basically, a car came along. I took a big breath in. Okay, see you later, buddy. Off we went. We went back a little bit. We were going down south. We traveled north a little bit to just recoup ourselves. And then the guy looked at us like he was driving really slowly, and looked at us like and just stared us right down. And it was like, oh my God, we were two very lucky humans on that trip. We were going to be dead if I didn't trust my gut and do the right thing. The number of times this has happened, I was in Melbourne one time and my anxiety point said, just walk across the road. I had no idea why. So I walked across the road, and then I saw people on the other side of the road with baseball bats and a whole bunch of young hooligans, and I was going to be walking straight into their path, and I had no idea what was going to happen. So the number of times that I've created safety through trusting my anxiety point and to make decisions that I didn't know why at that point. I just made decisions to make myself safe. So when you trust this, and this is what happens when we're talking to other people and they say, hey, the sky's blue, and you know it's grey that day, and you're like, I'm not really sure whether this person's right. And those elegant communicators, they tell you exactly what you want to hear, and you go, oh, no, they must be right. Then all of a sudden we knew, and our gut is constantly telling us, trust it. And we don't. And that's what anxiety is for. It's to teach you to trust what's right for you in your personal life.
That's really beautiful. And how is that different to fear?
Well, fear's like the pathway. So it's the thing that says you got to go over here. Anxiety is the way to get you there. Which steps do you need to take? Does that make sense? So when we have this fear, like I have this fear of exposure, so I constantly go to that exposure. Anxiety is like pointing you in the direction to take the steps where you need to go daily. Right? So if you use it really well, your anxiety point takes this big tingle. So you know when you get that big tingle all shivered through your spine? We all have that. That's when our anxiety point, we get an answer and we go and do it, or we talk and we go, oh, that's it. And then our anxiety point turns into this shiver of delight and teaches us the exhilaration of the journey ahead. So the anxiety is here to point us in the right direction. Anxiety is here to also show us when our language is out, right? So if we're saying something and we're bullshitting ourselves or we're bullshitting the world, we'll say something, we're like, in our heart of hearts, we know we're saying something a little bit off, and sometimes we don't know why. We're just programmed to do that. Our body will be in this anxiety that's saying, this is not right. What are you doing? How are you doing it? How you got to change it? Right? So once we understand how to work with anxiety and fear together, we actually end up, our fear is our compass, anxiety is the journey towards it.
Amazing.
How does that feel, like hearing that?
Oh, that's, it's completely different to how I guess anxiety and fear are traditionally looked at. And that would be my next question anyway. Like, how does the world usually look at anxiety and fear? I feel like, it's like, oh, you've got constant anxiety, we need to fix that. Well,
usually in our day and age, it's you go and see a doctor and you get it medicated, anti-anxiety tablets, right? And so what it does is it dampens your capacity to know your compass. So often what we do is we go, okay, even in alternative therapies, I need to go and do my yoga. Okay, I need to go and do my exercise.
Yeah.
I need to go and do something very, very healthy to deal with my anxiety. I need to have a coffee, Coffee is what gives you hypertension. It stops the anxiety from being expressed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically saying, hey, you're off track. Oh, let's have a coffee to just keep going. So imagine if you were making really unhealthy choices that were going to give you cancer, right? And your anxiety point saying, stop, listen, stop, listen. And you just don't. You just keep going. You keep having your coffee. And all of a sudden, 20 years' time, you got cancer. Simply because you didn't trust what you needed to do innately.
Mm-hmm.
Our body knows exactly what it wants. We just don't trust it.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to learn how to use those emotions wisely. The trouble is when you go and see a person now who's a coach or a healer or whatever, they're trying to fix the anxiety. All I wanted to do when I was working as a therapist was help people understand the reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And once I gave people reason, everyone had calmed down.
And they were like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and we do an octahedron breathing with a symbol, with a shape. It's actually see up here. You probably can't see it. It's sort of half seen here. You can only see the bottom of it in the video, not in the audio, obviously. But basically, three breaths and your anxiety's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do is we actually acknowledge the thing that's going on in our life and talk to it rather than try and change it. Talk to it and understand that it's there. So like, I'm scared of people and that's okay, is an idea. And we breathe through that shape and all of a sudden we're calm. And you've experienced that, haven't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And how quick is it to have anxiety and have none with the work that we do?
It's really weird because it's like so quick and you feel like, that can't be right. Like surely I'm just like, I don't know, blocking it or something, but it actually does work, which is really cool.
Yeah. And so that's the whole point of what we're trying to share with this stuff around emotions, is that these emotions that we call bad, especially anxiety in this day and age, imagine if it was good. Imagine if it was something that was going to help you make clear decisions. Would you ever want something that was going to help you make clear decisions to go away?
No.
Would you ever want something that was telling you this person is lying to go away?
Definitely not.
Right? Would you ever want something that was actually showing you when that person was telling the truth to go away?
Also no.
So why would you want to eradicate one of the most essential emotions?
Mm-hmm.
See, we don't understand how important anxiety is to help us understand what our true values are, what's really important, and where we go. And I'll give you another example, a bit of a flip side around this, is that anytime you're doing something brand new, what are you going to feel?
Fear and anxiety.
Guaranteed. So that's what we have to understand. And then when you were working for us, you were a bit frightened, you didn't know what to expect. And then once you started getting a handle, what happened?
Oh, you feel calm and you feel more confident because you're like, oh yeah, I know how this works. And then there's still things that you don't know, but you're like, yeah, I'll figure that out.
Right. So imagine anxiety and fear, when we're talking about anxiety today, being a compass again.
Mm-hmm.
It's teaching you how to gain knowledge about the unknowable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When we don't know something, our psyche, our ego, as an adult, gets frightened of whether we're going to be smart, like all the things that we do based on society's rules.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a child doesn't do that.
No, that's true.
A child goes, I'm going to get up on that table, and I don't know whether that's appropriate or not, but I want to get up on that table because there is a nice candy there, right? So they're going to go and grab that piece of chocolate or whatever it is, and they want to get that. They won't be thinking, oh, I might fall.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's no anxiety there. There's just this want. Now, kids get anxious, babies get anxious because they're getting processed on, not because they're anxious themselves. So the number of times that I've handed over my little ones to a person, there was one particular person that always wanted to pick Charlotte up, and Charlotte got really anxious because she could feel the anxiety in the other person. They detect everything.
Wow.
And that was the only time she was anxious, though. It was other people's anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kids do. Little babies are really renowned for it. So eventually they get handed over. They get, the parent just dumps, or the person just dumps on the emotion, and then that kid's like, oh my God, I've just taken all of this in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So typically they're a bundle of joy, love and care. If we're not, they take that emotion on and they struggle. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And is that like, how people get like constant anxiety and things like that? So is that just them not making the right choices in their life and just ignoring their own kind of innate compass telling them like, hey, you may be walking into the wrong direction here?
Yeah.
And then it's just constant because it's like, come on,
100%.
Take a turn.
It is. It's take a different turn. And the moment, because I've been doing work with people for so long, the moment they take a different turn, the anxiety's gone. Because the body's actually giving you the idea of where you need to go with it. Once you look at it that way, you just go, okay, my anxiety's up. So I'm doing something every time that I'm doing it, and you now know this, and it's quite inspiring for you to see everything that I'm doing is on a cloud, and I'm creating concrete. And everything is pioneer based. Right? And even our conversation around anxiety to share what's in here is different, right? So I'm sharing a different way and a different model that's not in the world right now. So I'm always on cloud.
Yeah.
Right? And so there are times when I'm anxious and there's times when I'm not. Right? And I know when I'm anxious, all I'm doing is, especially when you do know what you need to do. You know, when you do know and you're not doing it, what happens?
Oh, you just... get super anxious.
And then it can turn into overwhelm. Because once you start chewing it down, you start making those steps, it starts turning to exhilaration again. And things start to change because, look, emotions are designed to help us grow. Once you actually stop looking at the dysfunctional ones, in quotes, as dysfunctional, you'll never, ever want them to go away. I never want anxiety to go away, right? Because then I wouldn't know that you were bullshitting me, right, in front of me. Like that, everyone sees me in the academy. I can tell the bullshit, and I can explain why, how, and what. You've seen me do that, and I've got that sixth sense. I can talk to you about conversations that you've had with you and your partner the day before while you're having lunch, right?
But you were not there,
and I wasn't there, which is very, very different. So I have that sixth sense, and anxiety helps me there, helps me gain clarity, helps me gain understanding, and helps me understand a pathway to help people move.
That's beautiful. So what do you recommend for people with anxiety? Like, would you just say like to have a look at their life and see where they might be out of whack?
100%. Basically, all you need to do is have a look about what you need to change, and then start making steps to go towards the changes that you need to make, whether it's a change of jobs, whether it's you've got to talk to your partner, whatever it is that you need to change, and start making those decisions to change them. And once you do that, you'll start creating freedom. You have to make those choices and know that your anxiety is taking you on a journey towards freedom.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah. Changes the game though, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. Absolutely.
So how's this making you feel?
I think really inspired, actually.
Yeah, that's good. So and so once you get that feeling of inspired, that's what anxiety is helping you with. Because you become inspired when you start living the life that you were always meant to lead. Anxiety and fear will take you there. So this is our decision making processes. Anxiety is like an internal decision making processor. Right?
And you just gotta take the right steps.
Yeah, and no step is a wrong step. Even when I've gone, okay, I need to go here, and it was the wrong step, it's taught me so much. So there's no step is a wrong step, guys. Everyone thinks, oh yeah, I should have done this, I should have done this in hindsight, but we didn't know that. So even when our anxiety is tripwiring us into a direction and then it doesn't turn out right, we were always meant to have that time where it wasn't meant to turn out right anyway. It's really, really important to understand. Anxiety is an absolute key towards liberation, freedom, and connection to our purpose.
Beautiful.
Okay.
I think
you happy with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's wrap up here.
If you really like this content and this information, someone needs to hear it. I'd love it if you could share it. I'd love it if you could also review this podcast if this was something that you really, really liked. Anxiety is really important. In my opinion, I'd love it if you could actually share this to someone who really has anxiety to have a think about it in a very, very different way. So please like, share, and comment on my podcast so then other people who really need this information can get it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.